I want to thank my colleague for bringing up the important subject of veterans care. As the ranking veteran in the Illinois House, the only female veteran in the Illinois General Assembly, a Marine Corps veteran with my son serving in the Navy, my son-in-law serving in the Army, of course, and myself being a disabled veteran for the body to know, this is, of course, very important subject matter in which we are engaging in, and an area that is very concerning for our veterans. So I just want to bring attention to the body that I realize that there are many sources of information out there. News, questionable news. What I am going to talk about today comes from sources that I rely on. I rely on our local news, 2579. I also rely on the militarytimes.com and starsandstripes.com. These news outlets were part of my military experience, and I trust their reporting with all my heart. So nobody can call out these news sources, and I wanted to put that on the record. First, I want to talk about how one person's example is another example of an essential service. And what I've been seeing on the national level are individuals that don't have the knowledge nor the experience to evaluate services or benefits for our veterans. I'm referring to the action, as was mentioned by my colleague, by Elon Musk and DOGE, and this was codified in a memo from the Secretary of the VA dated February 11th and was enacted yesterday, March 5th. To note, we have 18 million veterans nationwide, over 600,000 veterans here in the state of Illinois. So in my remarks, I want to focus on the veterans who have served our country, the men and women who have wore the uniform and are now receiving the benefits that they were promised from a grateful nation. Ladies and gentlemen, I do wish that you pay attention because this is an important subject, and this is important for our veterans who serve our community. This has been verified, according to the new Secretary of the VA, a desire by DOGE, as we have heard, Elon Musk's department, somebody that has zero military experience, embraced by the Secretary of the VA to return to 2019 staffing levels. Now, my colleague talked about this in brevity. I'm going to talk about this in specificity because it is important to note these facts for our veterans. The Secretary of the VA is going to return to 2019 staffing levels, and this is a reduction of roughly 80,000 employees, most of which who are veterans. So when we want to have the discussion about veteran homelessness and veteran services, we are now unemploying 80,000 veterans. Excuse me. I want to put on the record, on August 10th, 2022, Congress passed the PACT Act. What is the PACT Act? It is the promise to address comprehensive toxins. The toxins that my friends endured in the burn pits in Iraq and Afghanistan that took them over 10 years or more, 20 years, to get recognized by Congress of the cancers, of the pain to they can't breathe. They can't live without constant pain. 2022. So tell me how returning to 2019 levels can service the over 1 million families and veterans who are now being serviced by the PACT Act. This is not politics for me. I'm not going to call names. I'm not going to be derogatory. I am a factual individual. Logically, it makes zero sense that in 2022, we expanded the benefits for the men and women that suffered so much, and then we are returning to staffing levels of 2019. Let that sink in. How is that gonna happen? How is it gonna happen? It simply is not gonna happen. And benefits, and to be quite honest, I know veterans that has taken 6 years to get their appeal approved by the VA because there are so much need out there. 6 years, veterans are waiting for the benefits that they deserve. And now we are cutting 80,000 individuals that are processing the claims, that are making sure that our benefits, that our veterans and our benefits are being properly educated. I want to give you a quote, again, from Stars and Stripes, not any kind of cable network news, but Stars and Stripes. The quote is, "Everybody who served honorably met their end of this agreement. We demand our leaders to do the same and ensure VA has the staff and resources so veterans can receive their full earned benefits. This is not an ask. Honor the contract with our veterans," said Al Lippert, the VFW's national commander. This is not me. This is not a statement from a political person. This is the national VFW. And for those that don't know, they might not know, Veterans of Foreign Wars, national commander. There is nothing more sacred than taking care of those who serve this nation. And this got to be fixed. We have 1.4 million members of the VFW. And again, they represent the 18 million veterans nationwide. They all need to be treated with respect. Stars and Stripes continue to report the contracts that are being canceled, waste, fraud, and abuse. We all want to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. We all do. But it is somebody who has no knowledge of the VA and looking at canceling contracts that the VA has, and this is, again, Stars and Stripes, and this is actually collaborated with Channel 5 NBC News. Contracts that cover having sterile certifications for VA hospital pharmacy operations, air quality control, safety testing for the infectious diseases, in addition to cancellation of services. And I'll pause for you all to hear this. I'm still pausing. Reported in Stars and Stripes, verified by Channel 5 NBC News, cancellation of the contract that supports the National Center for PTSD, the VA entity that is the world's leading research and educational center on post-traumatic stress disorder. And it also terminated the contract that would continue the long-established technology upgrade for the Veterans Health Administration. That's important. Radiation monitoring for x-rays, certification, accreditation for stroke centers, cancer care. List goes on and on. That's our veterans. I finally want to address, and I appreciate the body giving me this time. I want to address concerns regarding our service members serving today, my family, individual's family, Leader Jehan Gort's family. In response to Trump's executive order on diversity, equity, and inclusion, again verified, the military has halted all training on military sexual assault, in addition to access to services provided to victims of military sexual assault. Now, I realize by the chatter, military sexual assault might not be important to some. Their side conversations are more important. Understand that. I understand that. Some folks have never been exposed to military sexual assault. So why would it be important to them? Chatter away, duly noted. Chatter, chatter, chatter. However, verified by Stars and Stripes, this was reported. Now, I'm going to tell you, this was also confirmed to me in angst from a current member of our Army National Guard who called me because she was trying to make an appointment for her mental health needs that was related to military sexual assault. And she was told there are going to be no further appointments for her. In addition, she was told that there are no reporting procedures anymore in place. In short, there is nobody to investigate anymore because of this executive order for victims of individuals currently serving who have suffered military sexual assault and trauma. In addition, there's been a recent recommendation of John Phelan to be the Secretary of the Navy. Recommendations come before the Senate, along with Stefan Feinberg to be Deputy Secretary of the Defense. What is their qualifications to hold these esteemed titles for our service members? The Department of the Navy, where my son is serving. What is their credentials? The credentials is they have 0 military experience. 0 military experience of the person that's going to be in charge of the Secretary of Navy of my son's ship. What do they have in common? And again, militarytimes.com, folks. This is not any cable news network. What are their qualifications? Namely, their qualifications is that they are founders of private equity firms with net worth of billions. Militarytimes.com, folks. Look it up. That's a disservice to our service members. So, while I understand these are national issues, but I understand these have huge impacts to our families and the services rendered to our veterans today. I am not the chair of Veterans Affairs. I'm not. However, I do want to implore on the other side of the aisle that these issues are important to our veterans. It is not a nonpartisan issue. I don't project it as a nonpartisan issue. I project it as factual evidence that we need to do more. We need to make sure that the state of Illinois is taking care of our veterans, is taking care of the individuals that are going to be laid off from our VA facilities, and that we are leading the nation in making sure that our service members and our veterans are respected and are honored for the service in which they have given our country and given our state and continue to give our community. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I know I was long, or Madam Speaker, I know I was long, but this is so important. And I wanted to bring it to the body's attention that our veterans, they are frustrated with the VA system, but we are looking at the front window of a tragedy that's going to happen, that's going to make life more difficult for our veterans, including the victims of military sexual assault and trauma, because now they have nowhere to go. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I appreciate the indulgence and the attention of the individuals of this body that care. Thank you.